Good evening, everyone. I hope everybody's having a fine Saturday evening. Hopefully you guys are doing some fun stuff. I know I am. So basically, I just want to get on here real quick and talk a little bit about some automatic transmissions. The automatic transmission that comes in the Escort GT, Escort LX, Ford Escort ZX2, anything with a 4EAT, F4EAT transmission in it, automatic. So basically what I have here is what's called a PRV valve for the transmission pump, which is better known as a pressure relief valve. So basically what I have here to the left is an updated PRV and an updated spring. To the right is the factory PRV and the factory spring. So generally speaking, these are known for getting stuck. They're known for hanging up due to the fact that if you look there, you got some wear right there on the, around this bore here. You got some wear. You can see that, and then you can actually see, the valve is shiny. So it's just an indentation that it's pretty wore out. This right here will cause the transmission to lose pressure. It will lose fluid pressure. It'll act like it don't want to move, and then all of a sudden, if it sucks a little fluid, it'll bump and go into gear, but it won't be very strong. It'll be very it will cause the transmission to slip, so to speak. So over time, of course, this thing going up and down, up and down, up and down against that bore, it just wears it out. And of course, with this steel valve, of course, in that aluminum housing, it will tend to bore out the housing a little bit, because this thing has been going up and down inside the bore for so long, and then it actually, it gets score marks like that, so it'll actually open up that bore a little bit. So Transgo sells the updated version of that PRV valve. So this valve is going to be a little bit bigger in diameter, and if you notice that the holes are different sizes, see how the holes are different sizes. The smaller hole, they bored smaller holes in this updated valve to help bring the pressure back up in the worn cylinder, in the worn bore. And the way this thing is designed, with all these rings and everything, and it's like it's got channels, so it's this one is very less likely to get hung up and stuck like this one here. So this valve here will actually, if that pump has got a little bit bigger than stock bore on the PRV valve bore, this one right here is actually built a little bit bigger in diameter to take up the slack to bring the pressure back up to spec. So if you have a transmission that acts funny going into gear, or doesn't want to pull away, or you put it in drive and it struggles to move, or you feel it bump a little bit and then it kind of rocks and then it slowly tries to go into gear, most likely your PRV valve is going bad. It's not that the transmission is bad, the PRV valve itself is probably going bad. And Transgo, which is this kit right here, Transgo actually makes the updated version. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, Transgo makes the this is the updated shift kit that also comes with that updated PRV valve. So that's all your info there. So, but yes, this is a very common issue on all of the 4EAT transmissions, automatic transmissions that come in the Escorts. It was a known failure that these will get hung up on you. So that's why I tell people to always put a gauge on your transmission for pressure to see if you have pressure or not. That way you can monitor it. So if you have 0 pressure, 9 times out of 10, this is your problem. And as you can see there, this thing has seen better days. It's wore out. But definitely, you guys try to keep, an eye on your transmissions, especially your automatics. Put a temperature gauge, put a pressure gauge, and a external trans cooler, and run good fluid. And try to do this update here, because this is important. Because if you don't, especially if you don't have a trans cooler, or a temp gauge and to tell you what, how hot the transmission is getting, you'll be trying to drive that thing and it'll be, it won't make no pressure. It won't make no oil pressure, and a transmission relies on oil pressure, for operation. It relies on pressure for operation. And, you can ruin your clutches, your steel plates. You could ruin your valve body. You could ruin your solenoid. You could ruin a lot of stuff inside the transmission by not updating this valve and trying to drive the vehicle with this bad valve in it. So, but I just wanted to get on here and let you guys know and fill you in on this. If you're having problems with your automatic transmission and your Escort from, from 91 to about, I believe the ZX2 stopped in 2004, I believe. Not too certain. I want to say 04. Yeah, 03, 04, something like that. Any Escort with a F4EAT transmission will have this valve, this PRV valve. And this relief valve is the same thing like the relief valve that's in the oil pump. Same deal. If that thing gets hung up, your motor's toast. This thing gets hung up and it overheats, or if you're driving and this thing hangs up, you can take a chance in ruining your clutches, your clutch pack and stuff like that, So you definitely don't want to have that happen to your transmission. If you can save it by this little part here, I think it's like $20-some for this little part. I mean, $20-some will save you from having to rebuild a whole entire transmission, and it probably live a little while longer, with this updated valve. So if any of y'all are wondering where this valve goes, I can show you real quick. Let's take a walk. All right. That valve, of course, let me get down here, is located right here. So in the car, I don't know if this thing is tight enough. Okay, yeah. So this is the one that came out of my wife's car. So this one, it's right on the back side of the transmission, at right at the bottom of the pump. And as you see, when you unbolt it, it all comes out, stuff like that comes out. So yeah, this one's pretty jarred up too. But yeah, so that's how you get to that. In the car, all you gotta do is take out the hold on guys, I'm trying to put this back in here. You can take out the it's like a little plastic inner fender cover. Hold on. It's like a little plastic inner fender cover. Inner fender cover on the car. And it'll display this pump here. That's the rear of the transmission, the rear of a F4EAT transmission. That's the pump. And that relief valve is right there. I think it's I used, what size wrench was that I used? Hold up. Gotta keep the heat in here. The wrench size on that beast is a, let's see, 13/16. So that's what size that plug is for this valve. So I'm updating the one on my wife's car. We're having a little bit of transmission pressure issues, so I decided to go ahead and upgrade this valve, and that should get this thing back on its feet. We're hoping. The transmission is 2 years old. It's made over 50 passes, and it's been a trooper. But I think this this bad boy, this valve couldn't take no more. And you just, like I said, you can see it, it's wore out, and it's got score marks all on it. I can take my pocket screwdriver, rubber cross it, and it's rough. So, and then the spring, if you look at the ends of the spring are wore out too. They're real jagged looking and shiny on both sides. It shouldn't be like that. It should look like this spring here, dull and rounded. You notice how that's kind of rounded at the top? Look at this spring, it's flattened out a lot on both sides. So just wanted to give you guys, you know, a little info on the automatic transmission, and this right here is a known factor for failing. So keep an eye on this. If you don't have a pressure gauge on your transmission, you should get one. Especially if you daily drive the car. You know, not necessarily for racing, but daily driving it is really important as well, because you drive it all the time. You're driving it in different weather conditions and stuff like that, different temperatures. So, you know, monitoring your transmission is very important. So I recommend a transcooler. I recommend a pressure gauge and a temperature gauge. I know some of you guys are like, oh man, that's a lot. You know, I gotta buy this, gotta buy that. But if you want the car to last and you care about the vehicle, you'll do this. So obviously we care about ours, and that's why they keep on kicking. But I do recommend a good size transcooler. You could do this one right here. Let me measure this sucker real quick. Everyone always asks me what size this thing is, and I never know because I never measured it. I've never ever measured this thing. So we're gonna find out right now. Alright, so this thing is it's like it's a 10 by 12. Core is 10 by 12 and a quarter, something like that. Let's just call it a 10 by 12 core. So, so yeah, 10 by 12 core. And yeah, like I said, to get to that pressure, to that valve, it's you take this. It's like a little plastic piece down there, as you can see it right there, by the oil, the drain pan. It's you can see it. It's a right here on the back side of the transmission. You pull the wheel off and get that plastic piece out the way, and then you can take this plug right out. The spring will fall right out, and you might have to take a screwdriver or like a pick with a 90-degree on it to pull that thing down so you can get that valve out of there and put the new one in. So, but if anybody is wondering what this is the thermocouple for the transmission temperature gauge in the car. So, but yeah, so basically that's about it. I just want to get on here and kind of share with you guys some you know, some cool stuff about the automatic that a lot of people probably didn't even know. Everybody just looks at these transmissions as garbage and they never last and anything like that. So just figured I'd get on here and share this with y'all, and hopefully you guys can learn something from this. And if you got any questions, DM me. You know, some of you got my number, you can text me or call me, and you know, send me some messages and stuff like that. And hey, I'll be more than happy to help you guys out and point you in any direction you need to go for this. So just DM me, and like I said, DM me or message me or however you want to contact me, and I can help you guys out and get you straight on this. So hope you guys learned something from this. And like I said, if you got any questions at all, feel free to DM me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, anything like that. So thanks guys for tuning in. Hit the like and subscribe button, and thank you guys for watching.